population estimate's likely to be around 100 to 200 sharks. There'll still be a reasonable proportion of untagged animals out there. Most days where we've had good numbers of sharks around, we've seen at least 2 or 3 other sharks that have no tags on that we just haven't been able to get to the boat because the larger sharks have been keeping them away. The bait, well, it's our main way of getting the shark close enough to tag, really. Without it, we're simply reliant on the shark being bold enough to swim right along the side of the boat, and a lot of them aren't. He's massive. That's about as big as male. Beauty. He's not worried about it. Hey, I think it's Fred.
Do you have any favourite sharks?
No, I've got some of them probably my least favourites that seem to like to bite my camera and
Tell us about that.
cause damage. Well, there's one called Eyebrow that we had up yesterday, and we called him Eyebrow because he had a nasty gash above his eyebrow the first time we met him last year. And last year he managed to damage both my housing, underwater housing for the camera and Clint's, and also hit the camera so hard that it really hurt it. So yeah, put holes in your underwater housing and broke the camera, so least favourite shark.
Yeah, Eyebrow's pretty exciting. He's a character, but I must say I quite like Ella. She's a bit of a star. We've also had a couple of sharks that have broken depth records. Shaq was the first one who went to 1,200 metres. He dived that deep on his way across to Australia, so out in the middle of the Tasman Sea. Since then we've had Dave, who exceeded that and went to 1,245 metres, which is a world record for a white shark. So yeah, it's pretty interesting what they get up to. They spend most of their time around Stewart Island in very shallow water. We know from our satellite tagging that a lot of the sharks migrate to the tropics during winter. They've been tracked now up to the Great Barrier Reef, through New Caledonia and Fiji, right across to Tonga. One female we've tracked 2 years, and both years she went to the Coral Sea, to virtually the same place, halfway between the Great Barrier Reef and New Caledonia. She's one of the females we've seen here every year for 4 years. So that's the first time we've been able to confirm that they can both find their way back to the same place here at Stewart Island, but they also can go to the same destination overseas. We're at the moment halfway into an experiment trying to find out the small-scale spatial movements of white sharks around northeast Stewart Island. And by that I mean, which islands do they visit, how long do they spend there, what kind of routes do they take around the islands. And so we're putting out a series of moorings around the islands with data loggers, acoustic data loggers, and they can pick up special tags that give out sound pings in a coded sequence. And so when we tag a shark with one of these tags and they swim within about 500 metres of one of our acoustic data loggers, their presence will be recorded and the day and time will be recorded. It gives us a life history pattern, I guess, of what sharks have been around here at certain times of the year. And from that we can start to understand what seasons they're here, when they depart from here, when they come back, which ones are present at the same time, which ones have just gone off the radar that we don't know about. And we know from elsewhere in the world that there are indications of white shark populations declining as a result of being caught in fishing gear. We suspect that's what's happening here, and that means that there are species at risk, and for that reason it's important to try and monitor their populations. They're an apex predator which is naturally present at quite low numbers in the population, very important in the marine food chain, and as such they play a similar functional role to lions and tigers in Africa and Asia. They're just as important to us as our famous bird life, like the kakapo and the kiwi, and we should care for them in the same way.
I found a spot that had quite a bit of white water, and below it there was a rock break in the current. What I wanted to do was cast upstream from the white water, let my fly drift onto the white water so the fly would get sucked under and get very deep. At that point I hooked the fish. It almost felt like a little bit of a snag, but I knew it was a fish. I was using a pretty soft rod made for smaller fish, and this one was close to 20 inches. So I really had to control where the fish was going to go so that I could win the fight. With tenkara, it does take a lot of different type of sensitivity to know how much strength the fish has at a point and to lead him to the place you want to lead him. So in this case, I was trying to have him perpendicular to the current, and I was guiding him to the calmest water I could, and not putting a whole lot of pressure, because if you put a lot of pressure, the fish will tend to run the other way. And I think that might have been one of the nice things about the very flexible rod. The fish probably never felt a whole lot of pressure, and I was able to slowly guide him to where I wanted. And the fish was really strong still. It was a really quick fight for a 20-inch fish. And when I released him, I could feel that he was still full of energy, and it didn't take long at all for him to go away. It was a really nice fight.
Daniel, can you bring him over here?
I think I got the fly out. And I like to keep it upside down for a second to handle them. And then put it in the water and just let him gain his strength. And don't let him swim right away. Just wait until he's pretty strong to swim out. And he wants to go, but I'll just wait a few seconds and let him go.
Good work.
Woof!